Warning: this episode includes graphic descriptions of potential postpartum complications.
Welcome to Bravely Delivered. This is the space to hear stories, and eventually I want to hear your story. So if you have an incredible testimony of how God has delivered you out of something, or just your testimony on how you began walking with Yeshua, I want to hear it. Secondly, I want to hear the birth stories, the stories of honoring motherhood, honoring womanhood, and ultimately the incredible life and preciousness of each child that is in this world. I am a storyteller. My name is Talon Prescott, and I was born to tell stories. Just ask anyone in my family. I have always been, I wouldn't even say chatty, where I would talk just anybody's ear off, but if I knew you would sit down to hear a story, oh boy, buckle up. So I am using this gift that God has given me now to tell my story, because I believe that each one of us has a story that is worth telling. And of course, the only one I can tell perfectly is mine. Even then, I typically get the dates messed up. So my timelines are the worst. I did not do well in math growing up. I actually needed a lot of extra tutoring. I was homeschooled, and my poor mother, she tried everything and finally found the most incredible tutor to teach me how to math. So, timeline aside, I really want to talk today about the birth side of this podcast and why that is such a big deal to me. Because I just see the sacredness in birth. I see the incredible beauty in what God has done. And I really believe that if you are a woman who has had children, and I really mean, even if you've carried a child for only a couple of weeks, or if you've carried one or multiple children to full term, every story in between, you have carried life inside of you. And that is such an incredible gift that we have the honor of doing that as women. And that is something too. I want to hear the fathers. I want to hear men and their perspective. Eventually, I would love to have my husband on this podcast when we can schedule that. So stay tuned. That is coming, where he gets to share his side, because I really believe that birth is not only the birth of that child, it is the birth of the family unit. It's where you go from being husband and wife to being husband and wife and mother and father. And we need both. It did take two to make the baby. Yes, as women, we get to carry the baby. We carry the scars. We carry the patterns on our skin. We carry that child for 40 weeks. But after that baby is born, the minute they are in their father's arms, the minute that they feel their daddy's skin, they know they are his too. And I think that just isn't really addressed as strongly in the birth world. I myself have had 2 hospital births and 2 home births. They were all wildly different. So we're going to delve into that. But for right now, I want to share just what started this journey, because really for me, the interest in childbirth and the sacredness of it, the beauty of it, started with my mom. I'm the oldest of 5 children, and my mom was incredible. She still is incredible. Like, she's still here, and like, she's not even 50 yet. She's got just so much life and energy and zest for just the little things. That's my mom. Is she's someone who has a love and a delight for the little things, and I love that about her, because I think so many adults lose that spark as they get older. My mom is not that adult. She's always just been a light. in that way. And growing up as the oldest of 5 children, I observed a lot of pregnancies. I wasn't aware until I was older, but there were 6 pregnancies total. Um, so I know my mom has had so many different experiences, and without totally just stealing her thunder and telling her story for her, the reason my story begins with her story outside of obviously my own birth, which I do not remember for very real reasons. I remember growing up thinking that pregnancy was just how you lived. My mom was always pregnant for the first 7 years of my life. It actually took me a while to realize, like, wait, there's no more babies? Like, you're not having another one? It took me some time. And the pregnancies and births that I remember the most, I did not attend her birth, but I really took a lot of interest by the time my brother was born. And then again, when my youngest sister was born, I was 7 years old at the time. However, my mom shared with me that I had that interest like pretty much from day one. I have always just been so fascinated in everything that goes into growing a baby. Apparently, I was really mad that I couldn't share a room with my third sister when she was born. Um, and then my third sister later really wanted the youngest to share her room and was upset that the baby could not sleep in her bed. So we've just been a family that loves babies and that loves birth and that loves each other. And I'm so deeply grateful to have that as my testimony because I know that some families were not well prepared in teaching their kids how to um, acknowledge and accept and embrace a new sibling or necessarily understand how to teach the process. And that's also a huge part of why I want to talk about this in a podcast, is because I'm hoping that as you are listening, if you are especially a parent of multiples where you are now pregnant with a second, third, fourth, however many, and you are seeking tools to help that child in your home understand what's going on, I just want to say, just be so full of love, be so eager, just be like, you are gonna love this baby. You're going to be such a great brother or sister. And that's what my mom spoke over me from the very beginning. And it helped tremendously. Back to the details of that, I really started to observe pregnancy and ask a lot of questions when my mom was pregnant with my brother. I was 6 years old when he was born. And I remember coming to the hospital, seeing them. My dad brought pizza. We all just piled up on the bed with my mom, and she, being my mom, was so cool with that. She was so happy to see us. And that little boy was so purple and so bruised. I thought he looked like a grape, a squished grape. It was kind of my 6-year-old understanding. I was like, that baby, what happened? I was like a little bit upset in my childlike understanding, like, what did those doctors do to my brother? This boy is messed up. He had a rough time. So he was a very big baby. He wasn't my mom's biggest, but he was the second biggest. And yeah, the poor kid had a big head and he was very bruised, which is totally normal. You know, if you are pregnant with your first, just know sometimes it is not an easy trip, and baby's bruising is normal, but it doesn't happen all the time. However, it's not a scary thing. And my mom and dad just made things so normal. They just loved on us, and they answered questions when we asked, and they never tried to kind of scooch around it or squirm around it. They always gave us scientifically accurate, appropriate answers for our age. So by the time she got pregnant with my sister when I was 7, um, I was so fascinated. I wanted to know everything there was to know. And my mom actually let me read the Bradley Method book which is so gutsy of my mom. I love that because I don't know that every parent would let their kid read the Bradley Method book. If you are pregnant, I would strongly recommend it. If you're just not sure where to start, I read it for my first pregnancy. I read the whole book, and it did help. It was incredibly helpful in just learning that you can work with your body and not against it. Your body was made and designed for birth. And that was the first book that really opened my eyes to that concept. It isn't a medical procedure, it is a right